A Ukrainian pickup truck just ended a Russian drone without firing a single bullet, without making a sound, and without leaving any trace behind. No explosion, no smoke, no warning. The drone simply burst into flames and fell from the sky. And the weapon that did it fits in the trunk of a car. Here is the brutal math of the war no one talks about. Russia is launching over 1,000 Shahed drones every single week. These drones are cheap. Some cost as little as $20,000 to build. Ukraine's best interceptor missiles cost over $3 million each. You don't have to be an economist to see the problem. Every time Ukraine pulls the trigger on a Patriot system to knock down a $20,000 drone, Russia is effectively draining the Ukrainian treasury shot by shot. By 2025, Ukraine's front line stretched over 860 miles. Air defense systems designed for fighter jets and ballistic missiles were being asked to do something they were never built for, swatting away hundreds of tiny, cheap drones arriving in waves every single night. Traditional warfare had no answer, so Ukraine had to invent one. For 2 years, a team of Ukrainian engineers worked on a classified project so secret that not even allied military advisors knew about it. No official announcement, no budget leaked to the press, no prototype photos surfaced online. Then on February 10, 2026, a journalist from The Atlantic walked into a field somewhere in Ukraine and watched something that, by all rights, shouldn't exist yet. We'll show you exactly what they saw in just a moment. But first, you need to understand why what came next was considered nearly impossible. If you want to be the first to understand the weapons that are quietly rewriting the rules of modern warfare, hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The story gets stranger from here. What Ukraine had built is called Sunray, and it is a directed energy weapon, a laser system that fires a concentrated beam of light powerful enough to burn through the fiber optic cable, connecting a Russian drone to its operator on the ground. Sever that cable and the drone goes dark instantly. No signal, no control, no crash landing, just a dead machine falling from the sky, silently, with no warning and no debris trail that could harm Ukrainian soldiers below. The system itself looks nothing like what you'd expect from a military weapon. No armored vehicle, no trailer full of equipment, no team of technicians with headsets and glowing screens. What journalists saw was a modified telescope, a hobbyist's telescope, with 2 small cameras mounted on its sides, sitting on the hood of a pickup truck. When the operator gave the command, the AI targeting system locked onto the drone autonomously. Seconds later, the drone caught fire and spiraled out of the sky. The weapon produced no sound, no flash, and no recoil. The operator just stood there and watched. Loop 2. The cost that changes everything. Now here is the number that has Western defense analysts genuinely alarmed. The United States Navy spent over $150 million just on the development contract for its equivalent laser system, the HELIOS program built by Lockheed Martin. Some estimates put the full HELIOS program cost, including follow-on work, closer to $1 billion. Ukraine's Sunray prototype reportedly cost a few million. Its projected production price, a few $100,000 per unit. That cost gap is not a small engineering win. It is a fundamental challenge to everything Western defense procurement believes about how advanced weapons get built. Ukraine just demonstrated that a nation under active military invasion, running on a wartime budget, with no access to the controlled factory conditions or decade-long development cycles of a Lockheed or Raytheon, can build a laser weapon in 2 years. And we haven't even reached the most important question yet. This channel covers the exact decisions, weapons, and strategies that most people only find out about years later. Subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. If Sunray sounds like something from Star Wars or Star Trek, that is not an accident. Directed energy weapons, weapons that kill with light instead of lead, have been a staple of science fiction since the 1960s. Gene Roddenberry gave the USS Enterprise phasers. George Lucas gave us the Death Star. For decades, these were fantasies. Then the United States, Britain, Germany, and Israel all began pouring billions into making them real. The UK's Dragonfire program has been in development since 2017. Germany's shipboard laser demonstrator began sea trials in 2024 after 6 years of development. These are cautious, methodical programs built to survive 30 years of service, Ukraine didn't have 30 years. Ukraine didn't have 6 years. Ukraine had roughly 24 months and a genuine emergency. What they built in that time is not as powerful as Dragonfire or HELIOS, but it doesn't need to be. It needs to kill a small quadcopter at a few hundred yards, and that Sunray appears to do. Loop 3, the critical unanswered questions. But here is what no one is telling you, and what the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has deliberately kept classified. What is Sunray's maximum range under real battlefield conditions? What happens when it rains? What happens in fog or dust or smoke, all of which are constants on the Ukrainian front line in autumn and winter? Can it track a fast-moving Shahed cruising at 110 miles per hour, or only a hovering quadcopter a few hundred yards away? In December 2025, the RAND Corporation published a report calling directed energy weapons relatively immature and not currently viable for large-scale deployment. They cited 3 specific limitations: heavy power requirements, inability to engage targets beyond line of sight, and severe atmospheric degradation in adverse weather. Those are not minor footnotes. Those are the exact conditions under which Ukraine needs Sunray to work. And right now, we don't know if it does. Here's what we do know. Ukraine is not betting everything on Sunray alone. President Zelensky has reportedly tasked the newly appointed Air Force Deputy Commander with building a layered national air defense dome by summer 2026, an extraordinarily compressed timeline that insiders acknowledge may be optimistic. Inside that dome, Sunray would operate at the short-range layer, handling small drones and FPV quadcopters that slip past electronic jamming. Above it, the JEDI autonomous interceptor drone system would handle medium threats. Above that, the P-1 Sun reusable interceptor from Skyfall, which has already logged over 1,000 confirmed kills, handles a higher tier. And at the top of the stack, the limited supply of Patriot, NASAMS, and IRIS-T missiles would be reserved for the targets nothing cheaper can stop: ballistic missiles, advanced cruise missiles, and hypersonic threats. The vision is elegant. Every layer is cheaper than the one above it. Every drone or missile that gets neutralized at the laser layer saves a Patriot interceptor worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for a target that actually needs it. That is not just good military strategy. That is industrial survival logic in a war defined by attrition. The strategic implications of Sunray extend well beyond Ukraine's borders. For the first time in the modern era, a nation under active military invasion has demonstrated that directed energy weapons are not just laboratory curiosities or the exclusive property of trillion-dollar defense establishments. They can be built fast, they can be built cheap, and they can be deployed in active combat zones within 2 years of inception. Every military in the world watching the Ukraine conflict, and every defense ministry wondering whether their drone fleets are vulnerable, is now doing a very uncomfortable calculation. If Ukraine could build this for a few $1,000,000 in wartime conditions, what can a well-resourced adversary build with 10 times the budget and none of the urgency pressure? The era of directed energy warfare did not begin with the USS Gerald Ford or the HMS Dragon. It may well have begun in an open field somewhere in Ukraine with a modified telescope on the hood of a pickup truck. Let's be clear about what Sunray is and what it is not. It is not Ukraine's Iron Dome. It cannot engage Shaheds effectively at range, and those are the drones that have done the most damage to Ukrainian cities, power plants, and civilians over the course of this war. It is a short-range point defense tool with classified specifications and unproven battlefield performance outside controlled demonstrations. The 2 things it has publicly shown, burning a drone and severing a fiber optic cable, were conducted under favorable conditions at close range. What it is, however, is a proof of concept that matters enormously. Ukraine has now demonstrated that laser weapons can be built in wartime, at low cost, with rapid iteration, and in configurations suited to the specific threat landscape of the modern battlefield. Whether Sunray scales to production, whether it performs in rain and fog, and whether it can be deployed widely enough to change the strategic math of the drone war, those are questions that will be answered in the next 12 to 18 months, and the answers will redefine what we thought we knew about the future of air defense. 2 years ago, no one believed Ukraine could build something like this. The next chapter of this story, whether Sunray enters mass production, whether the layered defense dome actually materializes by summer 2026, and whether laser weapons change the outcome of this war, is going to unfold fast. Don't watch it after the fact. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you get every breakdown the moment it drops. And drop your answer in the comments. Do you think Ukraine can scale Sunray before Russia finds a countermeasure? The comment section is already debating. Add your take.